I was working as a rides operator at an amusement park, my first job, summer year 2000. I was operating a car ride for children, which essentially ran down a track line, and the cars were automatic once they were sent off. I was loading, so it'd be up to me to send the cars off, and someone else would unload them. I remember this specifically as the two kids at the front of the line were brothers, but one wanted his car and made a fuss about it. So I loaded the first, belted him in, etc. These cars had 4 seats. You're supposed to wait for the car to reach a certain point before sending the next, and so I did. Sent him off. Then, while waiting for the first car to send his brother off, I saw not 1, but 2 kids in the car. Solid. I thought the summer heat was getting to me, so I kept an eye on the unloading spot. Sure enough, 1 kid. The ghost also matched the description of the ghost that was known to haunt the kids' section of the amusement park. I know the story of his death, but as you can imagine, it was tragic. So I'll not go into detail, but I do remember hearing about it happening a few years prior and reading a story about it in the newspaper. This was before the web takeover.
In middle school, we moved into a new house that the previous occupant said was haunted by an old lady who used to there. First night there was super stressful. I thought I'd see her around every corner. One night my parents went out to pick up food, and my friend and I were alone, and I happened to see movement down the hall. Those colors you see when you close your eyes. Imagine them forming the shape of someone mid-stride. It was going into the bathroom. When we looked in the bathroom, my mom's hairbrushes and hand mirror were fanned out nicely, and her medicine bottles were stacked on the opposite side of where they normally were. These things were not arranged this way prior. The next time was years later, after I'd been thinking of my uncle who died at work. When I was telling my wife about him being on my mind, the phone rang. It was the wrong number, and they were asking for someone with my uncle's name.
My parents moved into a 50-year-old house when I was 11. Only one previous family lived there. On the first night, I got lost trying to find the kitchen to get a drink, and I walked into the living room. Looking left into the dining room, there was a woman lit from behind by the moonlight wearing a 1950s style dress. I didn't register that immediately and called out, "Mom." The woman turned to face me as my mom answered from her bedroom in the opposite direction. I skedaddled, but I think calling her mom made her like me. Growing up, I would see her peeking in my room or sitting by my bed. Often she rattled the glasses in the kitchen cupboard. I really liked her. When my kids were little, they would talk about her too, unprompted. I think she was the former homeowner, a lady by the name of Mrs. Barrett. When we moved in, we inherited her beautiful garden and clay pots from the 40s and 50s. Some of her plants are still growing in the yard today. I'll be going by to help Mom deadhead the irises today, actually.
I had just driven home from a concert about an hour away, so it was well past 1 a.m. I walked through the dining room to reach the hallway to the bedrooms, which ended in a tea sunroom on the left and my mother's bedroom on the right. At the end of the hallway was a small curio cabinet and a mirror on the wall. I left the lights off due to the time of night, and I had not yet entered the hallway, but saw her walk from the sunroom to her bedroom, thinking she had stayed up for me to return as I was home from college. I walked into her room to say hello and found her fast asleep. I know I saw a full human-sized shadow walk from one room, past the mirror, into her room. I even went back through my steps multiple times to make sure I couldn't have seen my own reflection in the mirror given the angle where I was standing. We talked about it the morning, and she had been asleep since 11 p.m. and never noticed anything. I never saw or felt anything before or after that in the house.
My old man's house had to be haunted, there's no if and or but about it. Literally right behind his house across the street and through a parking lot was a graveyard with a church. There were always weird occurrences. Apparently my little brother had a bad habit of sleepwalking that I only ever heard of him doing at this house. His mother said she had woken up to him standing over her while she slept. They had sensors on the front, back, and garage doors because of him, and they would go off randomly, even if you weren't near them. My cousins, my brother, and myself all hid in a closet once because we were home alone and freaked out. I remember how we'd shriek when the sensors would go off. My brother was young, so he had a lot of toys. And more often than not, they had batteries. Those toys would frequently go off in the middle of the night. I remember the toy almost 20 years later, and it was a large helicopter. I feel the batteries were removed at one point, but I can't say for certain. One cousin swore he'd hear the pantry door open while he'd watch TV, and swore he saw an apparition go into the wall. I don't know if I'm just sensitive to it or not, but certain rooms can just feel off to me. I recall the master closet that was inside the bathroom always felt uncomfortable for me, which says a lot because I was still pretty traumatized by The Shining at that point, and the closet bothered me more. I also could have sworn I saw a woman zip past me behind the couch once.
Lived in a haunted house on an old Civil War battleground. Multiple things happened in that house. Saw a man standing in my hallway, looked to be Victorian. I opened the curtains to go on our back porch and saw a bunch of soldiers staring back at us. I heard my son talking to someone when he was supposed to be in bed. I went into his room and asked him who he was talking to, and he said the girl in the corner. This same girl also coaxed him to play hide and seek in the dryer. Final straw was I was awoken to what felt like my son shaking me awake. At that point, the haunting got so bad my son was sleeping in our bedroom with us. I woke up to see nothing but a blur there and freaked out. We moved out of that house within a week. We ended up finding out the house used to be an old monastery. On the side of the house, we found an enclosed area that had bricks for what seemed like headstones. It was intense.